Tropic Thunder is a 2008 action comedy film directed by Ben Stiller. The movie features an ensemble cast that includes Stiller himself, Jack Black, Robert Downey Jr., and others. The film is a satirical take on the movie industry as well as a spoof of the entire war film genre. It features a group of actors who are filming a war movie but find themselves in a real life conflict. The actors, unaware that the dangers are real, continue to act as if they are in a movie, leading to humorous and absurd situations.
I am New York City, zero budget guerrilla filmmaker Sean Weathers.
And I am Canadian screenwriter and playwright Angus Cohen. And we're about to explore Tropic Thunder. The No Rules Film School is now in session.
So we already did the recording for the audio commentary for the movie. So we did talk about this extensively a lot. And two things I come away with that thinking is this film is hilarious because I laughed out loud a lot, more than I have watching a movie in a long time. But the satire isn't really that biting at all, as not as much as I think the satire is more a promotional tool than something that was given to it by viewers. I think it's like they gave that title to themselves, but nonetheless, it was very funny.
Yes, it is very funny. It is very entertaining. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's like a really sharp satire. I think it's more of a broad comedy, more of a broad parody. They're having a lot of fun, a lot of over-the-top stuff, but not really any deep thoughts in terms of Hollywood or anything else. Really, it's just basically a fun movie.
Yeah, I think to do a true satire, you have to offend people in a way where you're critiquing how they do things or what they do or how they live their life or how they conduct business or their politics or their views. Unless you're challenging people in some kind of a way about how they conduct themselves, it's not a true satire. You know, I view more of a satire as like, hey, you're critiquing society, you're critiquing politics, you're critiquing something. And they're not really critiquing the film industry. You don't come away thinking about, man, the film industry is really corrupt, or geez, I didn't think they'd go there. You know, it's obviously offensive in other ways, but I think that that's more offensive in the comedy and not necessarily the biting satire. It's the subject matter of the comedy is what's offensive. Oh, you're making fun of like blackface, and you're making fun of the special needs. You're making fun of, you know, whatever. I think there were a couple other things, but those were like some of the more prominent things. I think there was some anti-Semitism that people kind of felt as well in there, and
Yes.
maybe some homophobia, but the more at the forefront was the special needs and the blackface. But they weren't critiquing like Hollywood using blackface. That would be more of like a period piece, you know, if that would be something. This is more contemporary. Like who even people would have to Google blackface to even know what their people are being offended for, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and they were more going for the idea of crazy actors who are so into their role that they will do anything, or that they think they can play any character. Crazy method actors. But yeah, it's kind of a subtle thing, and especially when you see it out of context, as people did when they went to the promotional website for the Simple Jack movie. You know, they see the character being portrayed in such a way he's you know, mentally disabled or whatever, and they just did not like that because of course they don't understand what the overall intention is, and the overall intention, I'm not even sure if the audience fully understands it. You know, it's so subtle. It's just kind of, you know, everything in the movie is kind of done to get a laugh. And that's one thing with satire as well, is that sometimes it's not even overtly funny. You know, a satire can almost seem serious to people, particularly if they don't understand what it's doing. You can sort of look at it and think, oh, this is a serious thing. There was a famous story, I think, written by Jonathan Swift, or an article called A Modest Proposal, which was essentially a satire. And it was kind of about poor people in England and what they should do with those people. And so I think you could read the article and think, oh, this is a serious suggestion. But people who kind of knew got the humor in it, or they got the satire. But this movie is more concerned with getting big laughs, I think, and not being a really sharp satire of anything.
I think that's a great point. Sometimes with a satire, you got to think, wait a minute, are they being serious? No, they cannot be being serious. Are they? Like you sometimes you question yourself. It's like, wait a minute, it can be so close to reality, but just slightly over the top or slightly askewed that like, it's like Trump in a way. He has like, is this for real? Is this guy like serious?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, are they really gonna elect him president? It's kind of like, it's almost like that, in a way. It's just like, wait a minute, like, because there was a movie called Bulworth where I think it was kind of like that, where it's like you're just being like so truthful to a point where you're not going to get elected, but oh wait a minute, they're actually voting for him. It's just like with Trump, it's like he's saying certain things where it's just like, wait a minute, is he just setting up his business for when he loses the election? But wait a minute, he's actually going to win. And there was talk about that when he first won the first time around, that he had no idea he didn't think he was going to win. He was just setting up his business opportunities afterwards. And it's like, oh, I'm actually president, but it's almost like that, where it's just like you skew the line so much where it's like, if they take you seriously, you better watch out, Another thing is like the Homelander. There's a popular show called The Boys. There's a comic book, The Boys. I read the comic book. I've seen the show. But with the Homelander character, he is like a takeoff of like a combination, an amalgamation of like Captain America and Superman. And he's supposed to be so over the top that, yet technically he's a superhero, but he's really the villain in the context of the story. But you have certain like conservative groups that actually view him as a hero. It's like, no, he's a satire. No, you're not supposed to root for him. He's really the bad guy. I think that's a true satire. It's like you kind of you ride that fence so much that some people don't really know where you're going. And we pretty much know where they're going with this. And to make fun of method actors, like, there's such a small percentage of people. Why are you picking up poor Daniel Day-Lewis? So what if he played an Indian once? He's a good actor. So he's a white guy playing an Indian. Come on. Who hasn't done that back in the day in Westerns? But yeah, I completely agree. I think that's where the movie misses a mark. It also misses the mark where I think the characters, believing they're in a movie, there's a certain suspension of disbelief you can have that these characters are so stupid that they think that these real life situations is fake. Again, what we just talked about, it's like, wait a minute, you think this is real? But you can only take that so far when it becomes so blatantly obvious that they weren't shooting a movie. And it's like they're spending days or weeks or however long in this forest. They think a movie is being shot that long, and all of everything they're seeing is somehow fake. Your suspension of disbelief kind of leaves you, and you wish they would drop that a little bit sooner than they did. I don't even know if they only dropped it like directly at the end. Final critique is that I really didn't think this movie had anything to say. It kind of bookended the movie with a fake war scene, and then at the end of the movie with like a real life scene that was virtually identical to the fake movie scene we saw at the beginning. And it was like they were paralleling each other, but I don't know what they were trying to say, because the fake fantasy war scene in the movie they're making fun of, they're parodying, is almost identical to what really is happening in the movie. So how are you, I don't understand what they're saying with they're obviously trying to say something by bookending it that way, but I don't know what they're trying to say.
Yeah, I don't even know if they are trying to say anything, or if they just think we got to have a big ending here. We got to have explosions, and it's got to be as exciting as the beginning of the movie, because that's what you do at the end of a movie.
But the
I'm
fact
not
that it
sure.
was beat for beat as the same scene,
Yeah.
they did that on purpose, obviously.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I think they thought that would be funny. It's like the fictional scene at the beginning becomes real at the end. I think they just saw that as another kind of
But the
over the
whole point of
top.
the fictional scene is to show how stupid it is.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
know.
this is
I
so
know.
stupid. Like it's so dumb. I can't believe we watch movies like that. Wait a minute, you're doing the exact same scene in your movie, and you want us to be like genuinely, enthralled by it.
Yeah, well, maybe the point is that when Hollywood goes over the top and does really unrealistic scenes, they're actually being really realistic and they're getting it right. Maybe that is the point of it in the end, maybe. And certainly, they don't really make a big statement in the end because they seem to go back to their life in Hollywood and they're happy and everybody's still a part of that community. Nobody says, okay, this sucks, I'm walking away. If they're really critiquing that whole system, things maybe should have been different at the end. But yeah, I think it's mainly just meant to be a good time, and it pretty much is.
Yeah, I think the only part that wasn't funny is the simple Jack stuff. That was just cringy. I'm not offended. It has zero to be offended. I'm offended by the fact that it wasn't funny.
Yes, that's right. I guess it's like was it Jerry Seinfeld who said this, that the object when you're a comedian used to be to figure out where the line is and then cross it. And as long as people laugh, you're okay. But if people don't laugh, then you're in trouble. And so I think with the character of Simple Jack, they want to go far with that. They want to be really sort of edgy. That's okay as long as the audience is laughing. But I don't know. I wasn't laughing. Maybe somebody was, but yeah, I think that is the real sin there, that it's not particularly funny.
Yeah, and I guess we can stop harping on the negatives because
Yeah.
overall it was an extremely funny movie. A
Yes.
lot of great performances, and I like the mix of comedians with genuine actors. You have like Matthew McConaughey and Tom Cruise, who are real actors who give really solid performances that are funny. And you have
Yes.
comedians that are just there giving a laugh a minute, just trying to be funny. And I think it was a good mix because if you just have only comedians or only actors, then you just don't really have that balance that you're looking for. And I thought they really melded well together because you needed a straight man at times, and you needed someone to be sincere or earnest at times and not just looking for a laugh. You needed them to like really hammer home some emotional points in the film, even though there weren't many. But I think the moments with Matthew McConaughey definitely worked because his character seemed very earnest, and I think that was going to go to a comedian previously. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
happy he got that role. Tom Cruise, he did an awesome job in the fat suit. So I thought that was great. Some comedians kind of like didn't really hit that well for me, like Jack Black. He kind of started off really well with like his Chris Farley impression and the fake trailer spoofing the Nutty Professor remake that Eddie Murphy did. He started off kind of strong, then his character fell off. The rapper guy, his character kind of started off strong, then kind of fell off. He had that booty juice or booty sweat
Yeah.
booty
That's right.
sweat,
Booty
booty
sweat.
sweat drink, and he started off like a house of fire with that music video. But then his character was more relegated to keeping the Robert Downey Jr. character in check, and he was more so just seemed like a plot device so people wouldn't be offended by the blackface. But yeah, I would say the best of the mix of genuine actors and funny people is definitely Robert Downey Jr. The reason we watched the
Yes.
film, he had the best mix. I thought his character was the best. And the movie came with
Yeah.
a ton of extras. If you guys are going to buy the DVD, definitely recommend it because there are a ton of extras. To me, the extra that stood out was the second commentary track where Robert Downey Jr. basically did the whole thing in character. And I think for me,
Yeah.
why it works, and I wasn't offended in any way, is he didn't really use any bad words that would like trigger people. That, obviously this was made in 2008 where cancel culture wasn't a thing. But even though cancel culture is a thing now, you can be mad at the blackface, but he didn't say anything offensive while he was in that character. he just talked like, you know, a gruff black guy. You know, he sounded black, but aside from that, he didn't sound offensive in any way. So I definitely think his performance stood out, you know, right along with Tom Cruise. Obviously, he had a bigger role, more diversity to the character he played. But overall, I thought the cast was impeccable.
Yes, and Robert Downey Jr., he kind of treads that line between being a funny guy and being a really good actor. And I think maybe if they had cast just a comedian in that part, then it would have been really offensive and it wouldn't have worked at all. I think having an actor like Robert Downey Jr., who really took it seriously and really tried to make it as real as could be, I think he really did something great with it. And actually, I don't think we mentioned this in our commentary, which everybody should go and listen to. But he actually won, or not won, but was nominated for a lot of awards for this performance, a performance which they thought might anger people, but instead he was nominated, including for an Academy Award for best performance in a supporting role. So, you know, aside from the Academy Award, he was nominated for the BAFTA Film Award, Best Supporting Actor, Critics' Choice Award, Detroit Film Critics. You know, there's a huge list. He was nominated for all kinds of Best Supporting Actor awards for this part. So that's something worth noting. He is really good in this.
Yeah. And we kind of picked this film centered around his career. We did a few polls going through the each decade of his career. All the fans on our YouTube channel, which you guys should check out, No Rooms Film School podcast, or No Rooms Film School, leave out the podcast. That's No Rooms Film School on YouTube. Definitely check that out. Well, you must be checking it out because the only place this video is available is on YouTube. So why am I selling a YouTube channel that you know what? Yeah, subscribe then. You could be watching this and not be subscribed. So yeah, that's where I was going with this. Yeah.
Yes.
That was my point. Yeah, of course.
Subscribe.
So subscribe to the No Rooms Film School. But yeah, that was the reason we watched it. We did a poll. So if you guys want to vote for the next movie we do, definitely check out the posts and vote on the polls. And we went by decade, and eventually we just went from the top 4 decades of his career, and this movie won. I thought Oppenheimer would win. The day of this recording, the Oscar nominations came out, and he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in Oppenheimer, and I really thought that movie would win. But if the poll started today, maybe that movie would have won because it has a lot more momentum, and I'm sure he was great in the movie, but I'm kind of glad that movie didn't win because it looked like a long one. From what I heard, it's kind of like mixed on the fan reaction to it. I know the critics love it, but the fan reaction was kind of mixed on that one. So I might check it out at some point, but not really dying to see like a three-hour movie where it's like kind of mixed reviews. But
Yes.
but yeah, it was that, and I thought Avengers would win. It didn't, but I think at some point we should probably do an Avengers poll of just the Avengers movies and see which one people would like us to watch. Yeah, if you guys would like that, mention that in the comment section because we're always open to what type of polls we're going to do. But this movie won overall, and yeah, it wasn't like exactly like a dramatic performance that we saw when you're trying to explore an actor's career, but it certainly was a meaningful one because this and Iron Man that came out the same year kind of resurrected his career.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, be sure to listen to our commentary because there's a lot more interesting stuff in there. And in conclusion, Tropic Thunder is a bold and humorous take on the film industry, blending parody and action. Its meta elements and strong performances contribute to its overall appeal. However, it's important to be aware of the controversy surrounding certain elements in the film, as we've said. So if you enjoy action comedies and don't mind edgy humor, Tropic Thunder is definitely worth a watch. And check out our commentary as well.